And in my meditation, all I felt was no. What I thought I wanted was a blessing.
Because I think a lot of us, be it our physical parent or metaphorical parent in our head, holds us in place.
But everything is ultimately serving our soul's growth and evolution. And so for me, the purpose of life is evolution. And either we're evolving or we're not.
Okay, friends, I have Kute Blackson today as our guest of honor, and I am telling you, this guy is amazing. Has all kinds of resume things that we all wish we had. So Kute, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes. Okay, so you have this amazing story. You were you were raised in London, yes?
Yeah, I was born in Ghana, West Africa. My father's from Ghana. My mother's Japanese. I grew up in London. I've lived in Los Angeles 20 plus years since I was 18. I have a Mexican green card, so I'm partially from everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
I love that. It's very rare that I run into people that have been to so many continents. Like I had my quest to become the first female to climb the 7-second summits meant I've been to all 7 continents, but normally people have been to 1 or 2. You've been all over, which is super fun.
Yeah, it's a blessing.
Yes, it is a blessing, very much so. And your move to the United States from London that I read was your dad kind of had a plan for you to take over his deal and you had a plan for yourself. So tell us this.
Well, the deal was, look, people often say, Kute, you had a very unusual childhood. I thought my childhood was actually quite normal. I didn't know any different. And so my childhood was just my childhood. And so, as a young boy, I felt people very deeply. So I was a very empathetic kid and I felt people suffering. And there was a part of me that always wanted to alleviate suffering in some way. And so my first memories as a young kid, I remember being around age 6, 7-ish, vividly seeing a crippled woman crawling on the floor. She picks up the gravel, the sand that this man walks on, wipes it on her face and stands up. So week after week, I remember seeing, call it a miracle, blind people seeing and deaf people hearing. I remember seeing the same man whose gravel she picked up look at a woman in a wheelchair and say, stand up. Why are you in this chair? You're not sick. And she would say, but I haven't walked in 10 years. Stand up. Boom. She would stand up. A person would come in with crutches and he would say, throw those crutches away. You're not sick. And they would start walking. And so this man was my father. And he was considered the miracle man of Africa. He was the spiritual teacher to the president at the time I was born, to kings, to heads of state. And he was a very metaphysical, spiritual, mystical man. He went to India in the 60s, had a kind of enlightenment experience, but kept his churches. So he built 300 churches in Ghana, hundreds of thousands of followers, a huge church in London, 5,000 people every Sunday. So you can consider it like in the 80s, a mega church. And he was an amazing human. Meanwhile, my mother, being Japanese, was Buddhist. So I grew up meditating with my mother, going to church with my father and my mother every Sunday. And I grew up in this environment, but it felt normal. So I think the blessing was everything felt possible. Nothing felt unusual. And so when I was age 8, my speaking career began and my father just threw me in the audience and said, speak. When I was 14, my father basically ordained me as a minister and gave me announced to everyone that I was going to be his successor and I had the mandate to take over his organization. Everyone was happy but me. But when it was announced, I knew that this was not my path. My entire life was basically scripted out for me, but I felt a different calling, even though I didn't know what it was. And so I was too afraid, again, like many of us, to speak my truth. My fear was if I really spoke my truth, I would lose my father. I would be outcast. I would lose love. And so I said nothing and I tried to be who I thought the world, my father and everybody wanted me to be and fit myself into this box. And I got miserable by the second. And so I went through a deep process, you could say, of questioning, like, what is life and who am I? What's the purpose? What am I here to do? Because I know it's not this thing that my father has for me. And so I would sneak into my father's office and around 12, 13, 14, I would sneak into his office. He had a huge bookshelf full of 1,000 books, everyone from the Eastern mystics of Krishnamurti and Osho to the Western folks, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson. And I began devouring these books and became a sort of self-help junkie as a kid. And so I started seeing a different vision, a different possibility for how I could impact people. I would sneak in to my father's church in the middle of the night with the lights off, and I would give seminars to the empty chairs, imagine a 12-year-old kid, imagining I was inspiring thousands of people. And so when I turned 18, I felt as though I looked into my future and I saw that I could take over my father's organization and be successful. But what kind of success is it to not have your soul, to not have your own integrity? And so I felt this calling in my soul, and my soul was calling me to America. My soul called me to Southern California, to Los Angeles, because this is where all of the authors that I read about lived, like Deepak and Marianne and Wayne, Louise Hay. They all lived in San Diego, Los Angeles. And so to me, this was the Mecca. And I didn't understand why, but I think sometimes, what your soul guides you to do doesn't always make sense to your mind. What your soul guides you to do isn't always convenient, isn't always comfortable. But what I have seen in my lived experience is when you listen to your soul and you don't compromise your soul's guidance, your soul has an intelligence. It knows exactly what it's seeking. You will always end up in the right place at the right time with the right people, even though the roadmap that you take may not be the one that you most expect. So I left everything behind. I renounced everything. I let go of everything, had that conversation with my father. We didn't speak for 2 years. And that was heartbreaking. And long story short, I won a green card in the green card lottery that enabled me to come to the US with 2 suitcases, $800 in my pocket, an 18-year-old kid, and following a dream. And I went and found many of the teachers, became my mentors, Chopra, Marianne, Louise Hay, and Wayne Dye. Went and found them, learned from them. And then a few years later, I wanted more. And I began to travel. And that's when I ended up selling everything, shaving my head, said, I'm not coming back to the US until I was tired of reading the books. And I wanted to know God. I wanted to know truth for myself. And I said, I'm not coming back to America until I have certain answers. And that's when I sold everything and walked the Camino, which is a 900-kilometer trek in northern Spain. It's on a vortex energy line. People like Dante and Chaucer and St. Francis of Assisi walked this trek and had a kind of awakening experience. And so I said, I'm going to walk this thing. And then I ended up in Thailand. Then I ended up in India. And it was my 4 months in India initially that really blew me open to another reality, another sense of my true nature, another sense of my purpose. And that's when I came back to America. And 21 years ago, I began working with people one-on-one. No idea what I was doing. This is before coaching was popular. This is before social media. And one person showed up and another person showed up. And eventually I kind of evolved and devised my own unique methodology of working with people that proved to be very transformational. I call it uncoaching. And people came from around the world one by one. And just out of a sincere desire, I just wanted to help people. I didn't care about business. I didn't care about money. I just wanted to help people be free. And people transformed, and it grew into smaller groups and larger groups and larger groups and 2 books. And here we are.
Okay, there's so much in there that we just fast forwarded through. But here's a question that I have, because I think a lot of us, be it our physical parent or metaphorical parent in our head, holds us in place. Right? So, and your dad, which you were worried about, and he didn't talk to you for 2 years. How did you have the confidence at that time to be like, you know what? I'm going to have nothing and I'm still going to go and I'm going to make this happen. And then when you're in the US, you do that again. I'm going to have nothing. I'm going to go do this walk, or I'm going to go do this place. Are you just following your gut? Are you reading something that's inspiring you? Or how are you getting these messages and having the courage and the confidence to move forward?
It was just a feeling. I would love to say I had this crazy courage, but I don't know if I did have this crazy courage. I was terrified to have that conversation with my father. I was shaking when I had the conversation with my father. I cried for 4 years before I could have that conversation with my father. Even when I had the conversation with my father, I was terrified. And even after the conversation, I was just wondering, did I make a mistake? And what am I doing? And where am I going? And, I felt like I didn't have a choice more than anything. It was this deep feeling. And sure, I could have resisted it. I could have said no. But the feeling of resisting this urge, this impulse of my soul felt more painful. And you see, when I projected into my future and I saw age 20, age 30, age 40, age 50, and I thought, wow, if I lie to myself now, I'm going to have to lie to myself for the rest of my life. And the reality of that felt so freaking painful that I just felt, I have to follow this. And look, it wasn't easy. Sometimes people think that when you follow your purpose and your path, it's like the angels appear and the violins appear and everything. A lot of the self-help authors make it sound like, and the synchronicities unfold all the time. Sometimes it's shit. Sometimes you enter the darkness where you don't know your head from your toes and your feet and you can't see anything. So when I made this leap, I remember feeling so terrified after that conversation, and I didn't feel courageous at all. I remember sitting in the library and I said a prayer. I said, God, I have taken the biggest risk and I have just jumped off the cliff and I'm out there in midair in the middle of nowhere. And I don't know what was going to happen. But if any of this stuff is real, I just invoked grace. I need some help. And I think it was within a week, I was sitting in the library and somebody walks up to me, hands me a magazine called The Economist, says, you should read this book. And here's the thing, I could feel like a sense. Life is always giving you clues. And so if anything, I've just endeavored to follow the clues that life has given me with curiosity. And so I felt a strange thing. And I looked at the back of the magazine, opened it up. It says, the American government's giving away 55,000 green cards in the green card lottery. And that's when I knew. And I just followed the clues. And I was told, unless you're here by September the 18th, move on. Every day I'm visualizing. Every day I'm meditating. Nothing. September the 18th rolls around. Nothing. And now I'm pissed. Now I'm mad at God. And I decide I'm going to pack my bags and I'm going to the US, green card or no green card. Yes, it's called illegal, but I'm going. That was my mentality, right? And that night we got a phone call. It was from the law firm I applied through. The lawyer that we applied through in Washington, D.C. said, is this Mr. Blackson? I said, yes. He says, we just got your notice today. You've won a green card. And I remember feeling so elated and overjoyed and hugging my mother. And in the midst of this celebration, I heard this voice that said, why are you so surprised? Deep down, you had a sense, you had a feeling, you had a knowing. And so if there's anything, I've just endeavored to follow that sense and endeavored to follow that knowing. And more, the more I followed that knowing and the more I've seen how that intelligent knowing and guidance of my soul has led me and what it's led to, then it's given me more courage. And so now I remember, before I left to walk the Camino, here's the thing. I was 21, 20 in that zone. Here's the thing. Sometimes we have to thank God for the prayers that are not answered. And sometimes when things don't work out, it's grace. You see, I had come to the US. After 2 years, I wanted to kind of be the next Oprah. I thought, I'm going to take spirituality and make a talk show. And I began pitching a talk show for an entire year to the point where I had no money. I was broke. I was sleeping on a friend's couches. I was basically homeless, trying to pitch the show. And I got like 400 rejections. And I tracked down Steven Spielberg. I tracked down David Geffen, Steven Spielberg. William Morris Agency. The biggest folks in the industry. I found them, tracked them down, was laughed out of offices, was kicked out of offices. And so what had happened was I was so attached to this idea of this vision and this goal that I couldn't see any other way. And long story short, I finally met these managers. And that's why I don't see it as courage, but I finally met these managers. I heard about these managers. They represented Mariah Carey, Michael Jackson, Barbara Streisand, Dolly Parton, J-Lo, Backstreet Boys, Leonardo DiCaprio. I was like, these are the guys that can make my TV show happen. And so somehow they gave me a meeting. Crazy enough, they gave me a meeting. I went in there. I pitched my heart out. For the first time, they looked at it was a response of they looked at each other and they looked at me and they said, we believe you. we're going to make you a star. And they gave me a contract. And I couldn't believe it because I got all these rejections. And so they gave me this contract, the management contract, and they said, come back tomorrow, sign this contract. We're going to take you to this, ABC, da, da, da. Came up with all these. And I was so excited. I went home and I meditated. And in my meditation, all I felt was no. All I felt was no. I didn't want that to be the thing, but I knew that the same feeling was the same feeling I had when I left my father, the same feeling I had to apply for the green card. And when I listen to this, things tend to unfold. When I don't listen to this, things tend to not go well. And so it was the same feeling. And so I was so mad, but I said, I'm going to listen. And I told these guys no. And they said, why? I said, because my soul guides me. And they cursed me out over the phone, say, you don't know who we are. And da, 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 da. And I went in, that's when I went into a bit of a funk and a bit of a depression because I felt like, God, what do you want from me? You know, like I don't understand. And sometimes when things don't go according to plan, from the ego's perspective, the ego is not able to understand certain things in a given moment. And we don't understand why things are happening in a given moment. We don't see the total possibilities of why something is not working out in a given moment. And things don't always make sense to the ego. But I believe that if you follow your soul, you're always going to be guided. And now I'm able to see that not getting what I thought I wanted was a blessing, was grace. Because looking back in retrospect, I see that I probably wasn't ready. I see that had it happened, probably would have crashed and burned. Had it happened, I would not have gone to the Camino. I would not have gone to India. At a young age, I would not have gone so deep into my own spiritual, mental, emotional development and done the inner work to be able to set the foundation for what I'm doing today, 20 years later. And so now I'm able to understand and really appreciate. And so I was just following a feeling, my soul. And the thing that I found stops people from following, because we all have those nudgings. Don't go there. Something feels off. Like, don't get into a relationship with this person. And then we get married to this person. When deep down, we freaking knew. We knew this relationship was not going to work. Like, how many times has someone had the experience where you got into a relationship and then you were like, should I stay? Should I go? Should I stay? Should I go? You go back and forth with your girlfriend. Should I stay? And they're like, no, break up. You're like, I'm not sure. Maybe they're the one. And then you broke up with the person. Then you called up your girlfriend or guy friend and said, I knew that was never going to work. And they said, well, when did you know? Well, after the first date. There's a part of us that knows everything, but the challenge is we constantly question the knowing. We don't trust what we sense, what we feel. Sometimes your soul's nudging won't come to you in a loud siren bell. Sometimes your soul's nudging will be a sensation you feel. Sometimes your soul nudging will be kind of like something someone whispers in your ear, a clue that shows up. And so we have to pay attention. What I had to do was I had to stop questioning the guidance I was given. The ego is constantly questioning the guidance we're given because we're trying to understand it, because we mistakenly think if I can understand what this means, then I can control it. And if I can control it, then I won't get hurt again. And this is the ego strategy to protect us in a certain way. And so what I had to learn to do was now more and more, when I feel something, when I sense something, I don't question. Turn left, I turn left. Turn right, turn right. Go straight, I go. People will say, well, why are you going there? I have no idea. Why did you? I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. All of them were key, but definitely my time in India cracked me open because I was determined to find the purpose of life, the nature of reality. And so I probably met with 400 gurus all over India, literally seeking answers and sitting at the feet of these gurus, in search of answers. And like, tell me the meaning of life and tell me why I'm here and tell me why there's so much suffering. Tell me why. And I sat at the feet of many teachers and gurus and masters. And it was my time in India that I had certain experiences that cracked me open from the grip of my own ego identification, that helped me access a deeper sense of what I really am, a deeper sense of my own inner essence, my own inner being, my own inner truth. And that time was so profound. That time of like, wow, I had a sense of what I am, a deep realization of my true nature. And in that realization of my true nature, I realized that what I am is what you are, which we are one, essentially, and that was so profound. And so there was a freedom that emerged. And so because of that, that's when I was guided. And I had experiences in India on that first trip where I basically thought I was dying or died twice, once in the Himalayas and once in a car accident where I was like, I'm dying and my life flashed in front of me. And so those experiences changed me so that when I came back, I had this feeling like it's time to go back now. It's time to go back now, because I got to the point in India where I gave up everything. I got to the point in India where, because I felt like, with this TV show idea, I had tried to manifest and make my life happen, and it didn't happen. And I had reached the limit, the end of my ego's capacity to make it happen. I tried everything and it wasn't happening. And so I just kind of gave up, and I said this prayer in India where I said, God, I don't know what you want with me. I don't know what you want with my life, but I surrender and I give up totally. If my purpose in this lifetime is to clean the streets, like I dropped ambition. If my purpose is to clean the streets and that's it, then let it be clear to me, because I've tried and I don't know. And so there was a deep surrender and letting go that happened in my time in India. Right now, I'm enjoying the surrender book. Yeah, I think surrender for me is the most powerful thing that we can do. I feel that surrender is the real secret to manifestation. That surrender is the key to the next level of your life. That surrender is the real password to freedom. And if you look at the truly great ones, Jesus, Buddha, Gandhi, Mandela, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, at some point, they all surrendered themselves. Like Mother Teresa was just a regular person. Gandhi was a lawyer, going in a certain direction. They weren't superhuman. And at some point, they surrendered themselves to that purpose that was calling them, that was bigger than them. They surrendered themselves to the universe. They surrendered themselves to life. They surrendered themselves to the divine, whatever you might believe. And in that surrender, they were able to transcend their human limitations and tap into another dimension of life, another dimension of life's potential. And that's when life began to manifest through them, and life began to express through them and use them. And that's when miracles happened, So yeah, we do have this idea, as you mentioned, that surrender is weak and surrender is passive. And that if you surrender, you won't manifest your goals and desires. You're going to get left behind. You're going to be a doormat. You're going to be a victim. You're going to get less in life. And I'm actually saying, no, if you truly surrender, what if you didn't get less in life, but you got more? More than you could have planned, more than you could have visualized, more than you could have imagined, with the limitation of your ego's projection and personal power. Surrender is going beyond personal power to tapping into the infinite power of life and the universe and the divine, and your soul is bigger than your own personal power. And so, yeah, surrender is a letting go of control, or shall I say the illusion that we're in control in the first place. Surrender is when we stop trying to force and manipulate life to fit our limited idea of how we think it should be and who we think we should be. And it's a letting go. It's taking the limitations off of life so that you can be available to life showing you, life leading you, rather than you from an ego perspective pushing your ego's conditioning of how you think it should be onto life. And so the old paradigm of living is the ego-based model for living life, which is all about, what do you want? Get clear on what you want, which is cool. Get clear on what you want. Nothing wrong with that. And you can create from the lens of the ego, but it will always be limited because the ego is conditioned by the past. So whatever you create from the ego will be limited to the past in some way. And so when you achieve and create from the ego, you might attain what you set out to, what you thought you wanted. But many times what you thought you wanted is just what you thought you wanted based on who you thought you were. And often our goals can be projections of unmet needs from childhood, and we're still not fulfilled. And so the question I would invite everyone to sit with and ask themselves when we talk about surrender and to get excited about surrender is, what is it? It's not what do I want? What do I, this limited person, want? But rather, what is it that life is seeking to express through me? What is it that God is seeking to manifest through me? What is it that the infinite intelligence, the universe, what is my soul seeking to manifest and express through me? And then you can feel what that is, feel the energy, feel the deeper impulse and intelligence of what life is seeking to express, which may not always be what you think. And then you can align your mind, your ego, your personality, your logic, your marketing, your planning, your goal setting in alignment with the flow of your own soul. And then you give 100%, you go full out without being attached to the outcome. And to me, that's the essence of surrender. Here's what I would say. I think, yes, life is so busy. We live in a matrix. We live in a matrix of conditioning. Religion, education, parents, society, social media, television, advertising, retailers. You know, much of life does not have an investment in you and I being free. Much of life, advertisers, media doesn't have an investment in you being connected to who you are, knowing who you really are. In fact, much of advertising and media is actually invested in you not knowing who you are and being disconnected from who you are. Because if you're disconnected from who you are and just in your mind of TikTok nonstop sort of noise, you're not connected to your truth. You're not connected to your essence. You're not connected to the deep, true reality that you are an infinite being and an infinite consciousness. Then we just get conditioned to believe that we are just this limited form, this limited body, this limited human, when in fact we are infinite. We are a spark of the divine. And so we're kind of constantly being bombarded and conditioned to forget who we are. Oh, you're just your body, and you're just your wrinkles, and you're just your weight, and you're just your abs, and you're just the car you drive, and you're not enough. You're not enough. And so advertising and media is constantly trying to hijack your attention, because if you don't know who you are, and you don't know the true essence of your nature, then you can be sold easily. It's like, oh, you don't know who you are? Well, wear these shoes. Wear these shoes and drink this drink and wear this underwear and have this hairstyle and have this watch and drive this car. Then you're going to be enough, and it's going to cost you $99, And so I think we have to be intentional to realize we live in a matrix. It's a matrix of constant conditioning. And if we live in the West, unless you live on a mountaintop, the pressure of the matrix is very intense. So I think we have to unplug from the world and find ways to unplug and go inside through spiritual practice, through meditation, through our own, practices, so that we can connect with a dimension of ourselves that is free, that is still, that is peaceful, that is unchanging, because the world is constantly changing. And so I think when we can take time out to meditate, to go inside, there's a quote from the Bible. I'm not a Bible scholar, but there's a quote that I do remember. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of heaven is within you. And I remember, there's two quotes I remember. Seek ye first the kingdom of God within you, and everything will be added unto you. The challenge is, in our world today, we run around trying to we're looking to the world It doesn't say the kingdom of heaven is out here in a car, in a Lamborghini, in a house. Nothing wrong with any of that stuff. But we're so externally focused and everything in the world is constantly changing. So the more your attention is out here in the world, fixated on the world, dependent on the world, the more your inner peace will fluctuate like the wind, like the stock market, up and down, up and down. So we have to connect to something deeper. And to me, that something deeper is your spirit, is your soul, is your essence. And so to me, that comes through spiritual practice, that comes through your meditation, connecting to that transcendental dimension of what you are, you know. And what for me has helped is I have learned practice to see life itself as a spiritual practice, that all of life, like there is no separation from my spiritual practice and life. That life itself then also becomes a meditation, so that no matter what you're doing, whether you're with your family, with your kids, changing diapers, doing work, out driving in traffic, can you live meditatively? Can you live with your awareness on something deeper than what's out here? And so I think something shifts when you start seeing life itself as the meditation, life itself as the spiritual practice, life itself as an opportunity to love, life itself as a yoga, life itself as an opportunity to practice patience, life itself as an opportunity to practice kindness, life itself, the person that challenges you the most, that you hate, that triggers the crap out of you, as an opportunity to put your loving into practice. And that then life itself is the practice, you know, then there's no separation. Yeah. For me, these are my specialty and my gift. Like the event I do in Bali is 12 days. I think there's nothing like it on the planet. It's a 12-day experiential seminar without walls, where I use Bali as the backdrop to facilitate a process of transformation, to help people to expose your subconscious blocks, your blind spots, to bring to light your shadow, to help you move through, to become aware of the patterns of conditioning that you're not aware of that are running your life, so that we can help you heal, transform, let go of those limitations, to help you peel the layers away so that you can connect with your essence and share your light and gifts with the world. And so I create a 12-day process that is experientially designed to unplug you from the world, from the TikTok, everyday robotic routine that we are constantly getting conditioned in a groove in. And we don't realize that we're in a groove. Just every day, wake up, go to work, wake up, go to work, conditioning, which is reinforcing our identity. But I think part of surrender and part of freedom and part of change is the ability to expand beyond our current identity, so that we can start creating a new reality, a new experience, a new future, a new possibility. And so really what I help people do is uncondition themselves during 12 days, truly uncondition themselves in a very unique, in a very unusual, in a very profound way. For me, information by itself is not enough. You know, we read the books, we read the seminars, we read the books, we read go to the online classes, we watch the videos, and many of us, we know what to do. But why is it that when we know what to do, we still can't quite get ourselves to do what we know? Like, I know that I shouldn't sabotage myself. I know I shouldn't eat that. I know I shouldn't date this person, but I can't help myself, because it's the sort of conditioned pattern in our nervous system that is imprinted as a groove. And so I help people, you know, the nervous system is the antenna to the world. Every single thing that's ever happened to you gets stored in your nervous system in some way. The nervous system is the antenna to the world. So you see life and you see reality. Information comes in. You filter it through your nervous system. So if you are carrying a lot of unresolved, shall we say, junk, you know, trauma, stuff, conditioning in your nervous system without being consciously aware, you're going to process life and experiences through the lens of your nervous system. And you're going to end up thinking that what you're seeing and what you're perceiving is real, but it's not. It's just a limited interpretation of your nervous system. And from that, you will end up creating life and attracting people and getting into relationships based on that may end up being quite painful and limiting. So we could say that the event I do in Bali is a transformation, but we could say it's a purification of your nervous system. It's a cleansing of your nervous system so that you can recalibrate yourself, see more clearly, heal deeply, let go, and then from that place of clarity, create your life. And most of the time we think we have free will, but the degree to which you're conditioned is the degree to which you're not free. You're just playing out the conditioning over and over again of your childhood, the conditioning of what's unresolved. So we uncondition you in those 12 days. And that's what I've done. A lot of people sadly think, look, I've been doing this way before social media and way before spirituality got popular. I started working with people one-on-one 21 years ago in a small room where there was no social media and coaching was not a thing. And what I found is you can't hack your way to healing. You can't hack your way to authenticity. There's no shortcuts. You have to be willing to really do the work, and I think sadly in our culture, everything has become a quick fix, like give it to me in like a soundbite, give it to me in like a 12-second TikTok video. Here's the truth. Healing takes a bit of time. And healing takes real work. It takes work. It doesn't have to take 50 years. But the truth, if someone is going to tell the truth, it's going to take effort. Just like it took for Kobe to be Kobe, he didn't half-ass it. It took effort. He worked out 4 times a day. For Michael Jordan to be Michael Jordan, he didn't take shortcuts. He did double workouts. And so to truly heal, it takes work. And I tell people, I can't do it for you. I can't make you rich. I can't make you wealthy. I can't make you healthy. But what I do is I show people a way. I show people a process and a methodology and a way to truly free themselves if you're serious. And so the truth is, healing takes work. No different than losing weight takes work, and getting a six-pack takes work, and being healthy takes work, and an ecstatic, vibrant, marriage and relationship takes work. Healing takes work. And I tell people, if you want to do the work, to me, it's why we incarnate into this human experience. We incarnate as souls into this human experience in order to learn, in order to grow, in order to evolve. Life is like a university for our soul's evolution. And everyone and every person, everything is like the classroom curriculum for our soul's growth and evolution. And we incarnate in order to learn, to grow, to evolve, to realize more of who we truly are, our true nature, and to live that as love. Ultimately, there ain't nothing else going on. We think that there's jobs and there's careers. There is, but everything is ultimately serving our soul's growth and evolution. And so for me, the purpose of life is evolution. And either we're evolving or we're not. My life is honestly full of grace. God has blessed me beyond words, where I'm not saying every moment is perfect. To me, life isn't perfect, but God has blessed me beyond words, beyond comprehension, beyond imagination. In the last year and a half or so, I've gotten married to the love of my life. And sometimes I think to myself, what did I do to deserve this? Because in my wife's presence and face, and she's not perfect, nobody's perfect, but I literally get to experience the embodiment of the divine and pure love in human form that is beyond my mind's capacity to comprehend, such love, such purity. Like, that's what I'm grateful for. The birth of my son, who is pure grace and a blessing that has no words. no words. And so I feel blessed in so many ways that I could not have planned. And I couldn't have made this shit happen. I couldn't have made how things unfolded happen. So in certain ways, people say, well, does this surrender thing work, man? This is it. Like my life is a freaking living embodiment of surrender, it's more than I could have planned. More. And so it's all to witness, the ego thinks that if it's not the doer making things happen, things won't happen. But when you truly surrender and you let go, which is scary for the ego, because the ego is always seeking to be in control and reinforce its existence. So it wants to be in control to do things so that it can think it really is in control, but it's not. But when you start realizing that you are not the doer, life, God, grace, innate intelligence that is existence is doing it, you begin to witness life happening, life unfolding, just like your breath is happening. And you start witnessing life is happening, and you start seeing that it has nothing to do with you as a personal sense of self. And that's when, for me, it becomes very humbling, because then it's like, I didn't do anything. It's life that was just unfolding. And that's when the miracles happen. Witnessing grace unfolding in life, moment to moment. I would say that it's fair to say everyone that has come to it, and we've had billionaires, entrepreneurs, celebrities, mothers, daughters, students, salespeople. I mean, every cross section of humanity. And I would say 95% of people will say this is one, if not the most transformational, pivotal experience of their life. And I don't say that lightly. And so, yeah, for anyone that feels called, it's 12 days in Bali. The next one and final one, actually, is December the 5th through the 16th. This will be number 22. It's going to be a special one. We have spaces for 18 to 20 people. So if you feel called, www.boundlessblissbali.com, boundlessblissbali.com.